Hey there, Bruce, and welcome back to Misericorde Volume 1. Now, unfortunately, the last two episodes I recorded have been, for some reason didn't pick up my microphone input, so I had to scrap them, and we're doing them all over again. So the next two episodes, I've already seen what happens, so that may damper the reactions significantly. But anyway, they'll be good anyway, trust me. There was yet some time to while away before it would be appropriate to head to the Misericorde. I decided I would hole up in my dorm and calm myself with some reading. A splendid idea until I realised that I currently had no books in the room, save for one. I really should have asked the superior to move my collection out of the cell and into my dormitory. Medea simply wouldn't do for now. I felt a little apologetic. I, of course, still appreciated the gift Catherine had given me by transcribing the play for me, but I was not sure that it was something that would help me feel any less tense at this moment. I needed something like You know, even though I've had to read this twice now, I still don't know what that means. Ecclesiastes? Not a story about a pagan woman murdering her children. I lay down on the bed and held the little bottle Darcy had given me up in the air. I rotated my fingers and stared at it. There were no words on it, but I was still trying to read it, I think. If that makes any sense at all. I could feel the cool glass getting warmer between my fingertips. If I ran my thumb over the cork, I could sense just how much rougher the cork was than the bottle. The longer I did it, the easier it would be to notice the sounds the bottle made as well. The gentle sloshing of the liquid inside and the way the stopper brushed against my skin. It absorbed me utterly. So we're tripping balls on Darcy's concoction. I wondered if perhaps Darcy's concoction was working after all. After several minutes, I was so engrossed in the patterns of light dancing through the dark green bottle that I scarcely had room in my mind to think about anything else. Do you ever do that? Feel an object every which way until it feels like everything? I don't have any more of that tincture in me, but I still try from time to time. Lectio Divina, the sacred art of rereading and repeating a single line of scripture over and over, until it almost feels meaningless, until the words are just sounds and the letters are just shapes. That's how I spent many of my days and nights in my cell, breaking through all stray thoughts and bypassing all frivolous interpretations of the word, and simply living inside a true meaning of it. Reaching understanding through feeling rather than language. For a moment, I was that little bottle. We're getting started in the Misericorde now. I just thought I'd tell you as early as possible, in case you planned on being fashionably late. Coming. The clarity I'd been enjoying burst like a bubble, and I was thrown right back into nervous anticipation. I rose from the bed and did my best to straighten up my robe. While doing so, the tincture fell from my trembling fingers. Luckily, it didn't shatter. It bounced once and then rolled around on the cool floor, making a cold twinkling noise. Are you alright in there? Yes, sorry, I just dropped something. I scrambled to pick this bottle up, unsure if it was some contraband that I would get in trouble for holding if Catherine, or worse, Angela saw. Plus, I was so nervous. The tincture now safely in hand, I uncorked it and downed the second dose. It was cool, pleasant and minty, and I could practically feel myself physically relaxing. It was like the cold concoction was replacing the black bile that ran in my blood with something else, something much more agreeable. I slapped my own cheeks to bring out some colour and shivered all over. I was ready. I opened the door to meet Catherine, who was leaning against the doorframe examining her fingernails. You look significantly less terrible than the first time I collected you like this. I feel quite good, actually. Hold still. She stood up straight and licked her thumb, as she had once before. This time, I was prepared. She rubbed it against my forehead, undoubtedly attending to some wayward bit of hair poking out from underneath my cap. There we are. Not bad. We'll make a little princess out of you yet. I simply smiled. Catherine turned on her heel and strode out of the dorms, and I followed close behind into the hall. As we passed the library, the door opened a crack. Is it time already? Indeed it is. Are you coming tonight? Not tonight. I'm very busy. That's a shame. You can tell me about it next time you're here to chronicle. Have fun. I suddenly remembered something important I'd been meaning to ask Eustace. In my miserable stupor, I'd completely forgotten to ask her about Darcy's vision. I leaned forward to speak quietly, aware that the others behind me were watching. Still, it wasn't as if Darcy's visions were a secret. Before you go, I was meaning to ask, could I read some of your notes about Darcy's visions sometime in the near future? No. Really? I'd find them ever so interesting. She said I should ask you about them. And I'm saying no. Have a nice night, Hedwig. She closed the door firmly. It's rather a pity she's not coming. She could be quite fun with enough wine in her. Anyway, in here. Catherine opened the door to the Misericorde and held it open for me, ushering me in, as if she were a deckhand on a gangway. Inside the room was a round table, rather different from the one in the rectory. It was clearly quite old, and it was full of pockmarks and dents. Some parts of it were shiny, but others were quite dull. Various mismatched chairs were haphazardly placed around the table, as well as a couple next to a fireplace at the far end of the room. There were no windows. Currently light was being provided by the hearth, as well as a large candelabra in the corner nearest the door. Well, here we are. Hello, Hedwig. Hello, dear. Welcome, welcome. There were two other figures I could see tending to the fire. The smaller one on the left I deduced was Flora. The one on the right, unfortunately... Angela. Goodness, it's been a while since I've seen you in here. Yes, well, some of us have better things to do than spend every possible night reveling. Oh good, we're getting prickly before any drinks have been poured. This should be fun. Give it a rest, you two. Surely you can be nice to each other for one night. Of course. We wouldn't want to leave Hedwig with the wrong impression, would we? I agree. We can't let her leave without recognising what a shrew you can be. Catherine. What? I was agreeing with dear Sister Angela. Can we at least declare a temporary truce? For Hedwig's sake? I'm willing. Why are you even here? Now you're just being childish. No, just curious. Are you intending to spoil things for the newcomer? Am I spoiling things currently? Oh, here we go. You're very good at this game. Oh, hell. I jumped. It barely registered with me at first that this exasperated growl had come from Sister Charity. You're both as bad as each other. Stuff it for one night. You can bicker in your own time, but leave me and everyone else here to have a nice relaxing evening. And you're bloody well not going to ruin it. Sit down, shut your gobs, drink and make merry, or else. It's lovely to see you in here, Hedwig. I smiled. I wasn't as rattled as I probably should have been. Maybe it was Darcy's concoction, or perhaps seeing Catherine and Angela at each other's throats had awoken a slightly unsavoury sense of curiosity within me. I'm happy to be here. That's good. This will be fun. Right, Catherine? That's right. I must admit, even with my newfound courage and despite how amusing it was watching her spar with Catherine, Angela's presence made me slightly uneasy. Since only half the sisters could occupy the Misericorde, I'd been hoping, perhaps assuming, given her personality, that the odds of missing her were in my favour. Alas, alas. Martha and I brought up some of the good wine earlier, and I believe Darcy is cooking something especially for the meal. The meal? We just ate. It'll be a bit later on. Besides, you'll want some. I should resist, but the call of red meat is too strong. I opened my mouth to protest. The rule of St. Benedict strictly prohibited red meat, before I remembered that in this room the rule had no say. A touch circuitous, if I must say so myself. The rule states that nothing should be preferred over the Holy Office, the works we did and the hours we observed, and yet here, this place was, offering a sanctuary for everyone to do nothing but prefer worldly things. At this point I'd lost count of all the infractions this abbey had made on the rule of St. Benedict. Poor Darcy. She's really very busy, isn't she? I think Eustace or Moira is helping tonight. And it's a bit less complicated than supper. It's just meat and heat, more or less, isn't it? I'm sure there's an art to it, as there is to all things. Wise as always. Charity then ushered me to sit down at the table. There were several mugs and a large wineskin resting in the middle of the table. There was also a full cask next to the table on the floor that I'd not noticed previously. It was a little smaller than the fat barrels I'd seen stacked in the cellar, but nevertheless, that's a lot of wine. And thank God for that. You have plenty of us here to help finish it, don't you worry. Yes, don't feel like you need to drink it all. I'll have what she doesn't have. You're going to watch yourself. I won't hear the end of it from the Superior if you go on a bender. Margaret patted Charity on the shoulder and then took a seat. I could see a shelf in the corner of the room near the fireplace. It was rather unkempt and loaded with various mismatched objects. I could see books of different sizes stacked haphazardly atop each other, little chess pieces and a lute fighting for space. There were bits of fabric and what looked like a full robe stuffed in between these bits and bobs as well. So, are there any plans for the evening? I hope not. A little bit of everything, dear. But most importantly, a lot of nothing. That's the idea anyway. I see. I'd done a lot of nothing by myself in my cell. I missed it dearly, but I was curious what these women found so exciting about it. That's the best bit of any holiday, isn't it? Doing nothing. You're not wrong, dear Flora, but don't tell the Superior I said so. Catherine picked up the wineskin and began depositing drink into the cups. Now, make sure your elders get some before it's gone. I wouldn't dream of depriving you, Charity. Catherine handed her the next mug. That's right. Catherine was always grateful not to be the eldest in the room. That was actually quite good. I was merely surprised that Angela was able to come up with something so witty. Pour me one next. I get the feeling I'm going to need it. Just a small one for me to start, I think. Nonsense. She handed me a full mug. So, are you going in strict order of age? She must be. I haven't gotten a drink yet. Hedwig is younger than I am, so no. Bold of you to admit. Not as biting the second time. Charity got hers first because she's our beloved and respected elder. Margaret got second since she asked so nicely. Hedwig was next because she's the new guest and would have been second if Margaret hadn't requested so forcefully. Sorry, Hedwig. No offence taken. Next, oh I don't know, why not Adela? There you are. I very graciously will go last as I'm pouring the drinks, which leaves Flora and Angela, which, let's see. I'll give Flora hers first to prove once and for all that I'm not discriminating against her youth. I only hope that Angela will accept this decision and not see it as a slight against her. I assure her there is no such ulterior motive. Can you just give us a fucking wine? Language! She finished pouring the drinks and passed them to Flora and Angela, neither of whom looked particularly amused. Margaret was thoroughly enjoying herself though. Thank you. Indeed. Now Hedwig, tell us what you think of this wine. It's a fair bit nicer than the stuff we typically have throughout the day. It has real flavour. I took a tentative sip and was surprised to find that I recognised the taste instantly. Oh, I've had this before actually. How? Oh dear. I couldn't say actually, but I'm sure someone must have brought it to me with a meal at some point. Perhaps on Christmas? Oh yes, that sounds like something Catherine too might do. She knew her wines, that one. And she knew more about it than most do. Here do, yeah. Are you and Marta still fighting about the sherry? I came here to do a job. I have nothing against Sister Marta, but I wish she would let me do it. I know. I can't do anything about that though. Adela huffed and nodded, sipping her drink. This is good. Not as good as I could help make, but it's very good. What's different about sherry, Sister Adela? Don't get her started. It's a better fermentation process. The end product is sweeter. That's hard to believe given what I tasted. I mean, I do believe you, just, you know. It should not be tasted halfway through being made. Does the painter show their client their work before they've painted a face? Does the chef deliver a half-cooked meal? She's got a point. Of course, I'm more just impressed. I was asked to come here and help shepherd a batch of sherry. The first one was a complete disaster because instructions were not followed. Now I'm trying to correct this with a second batch and I'm facing the same resistance. Marta is very protective of her work. I think she does not like me. I think she does not want some Iberian dirtying up her project. She stuck her fingers into her drink and violently wiggled it around to emphasize her point. I had to duck and to dodge flecks of wine. I promise you it isn't as bad as all that. She's just... I think it might be exactly as bad as that. She has no other reason to get in my way. She treats me like a child too. It might just be an age thing. I very much doubt it. She does not see me as Spanish. Margaret, Marta doesn't treat you any differently than anyone else, does she? Oh, crumbs. No, it's fine. It's just if I say no, that might not actually indicate what you're hoping it does. Charity looked as if she was trying to decode a particularly difficult puzzle. Margaret smiled, perhaps humorlessly, and sipped her drink. She's an enigma, that Margaret. She really is. Have you seen any more ghosts, Hedwig? Ghosts? Oh no, I've not. I felt like ghost talk around here has dropped significantly recently. Hedwig's goat-hating swordsman excluded, of course. Thank goodness for that, it's all rubbish. Oh, I don't know about that. You don't get to be my age without seeing a few queer things here and there. I've seen some ghosts. There's at least one on this floor alone, I reckon. Yes, I've heard them too. It's a shame Darcy isn't here. She always has plenty to say on the subject. Well, you can ask her when she brings the beef. Perhaps out in the hall, where the rest of us won't be subject to such nonsense. I seem to recall someone asking for an escort to the privy at night, just in case she encountered something. That's just common wisdom. That has nothing to do with spirits or fairies or any such fantasy. There are bears, or strange men. Bears? Yes, bears. There are bears around here? No, absolutely not. Not that I've seen. I've seen a bear up close once, but that was before I ended up here. I have too. They're very cute, but quite dangerous. At any rate, there are no bears anywhere near here. They don't live in England, or Scotland, or Ireland. I cannot believe I'm being treated like a fool for worrying about bears, whilst you're all entertaining the notion of ghosts wandering our halls. Well, if they don't live here. Not naturally, of course, but kings and nobles and other rich men keep them for sport. They import them from Bohemia. So you think some nobleman is going to sick a bear on you while you're on your way to the toilet? You're trying far too hard to make me sound hysterical. Bears are strong and crafty creatures. One could easily slip loose and escape into the woods. It only takes two to proliferate. You cannot tell me this has not happened. There was nothing but silence for a moment. Then suddenly everyone erupted with laughter. Bears proliferating. Watch out. And they cannot stand women pissing at night. Grow up. You must admit, Angela, it sounds a bit ridiculous. Far-fetched at the least. It is nonsense. Angela, I'm surprised. I had no idea you were worried about this. Well, I apologize for not wanting to risk being torn in half by a vicious beast or violated by some murderous cur at night. After all, only half of these things have happened here, so why worry about either? Angela? Not in here. No? I think there's no better place to talk about it. The silence came back. This time it felt like the very air had been sucked out of the room, the already stuffy room. Everyone was looking in different directions. I could hear heavy, deep breaths. Time for meat. Adela stood up first and strode over to the door, unlatching it and holding it open so that Darcy could lumber in carrying a massive platter of food. Everyone sort of shuffled awkwardly to move the cups and wineskins out of the way. Darcy plunked the platter down and dusted her hands off with a satisfied expression on her face. You have beef and lamb and a bit of pork here, coated in a special sauce and cooked to perfection over a roaring fire by yours truly. Why is everyone so glum? We're just hungry, Darcy. Thank you. Darcy's now impervious smile flickered just a little. Alright then. Well, enjoy. Aren't you going to have some? Oh, I'm not allowed. Not outside of the Misericorde, no, but you're here now. Even seeing Darcy's mouth twitch was heartbreaking enough that I felt compelled to do whatever I could to make you feel better. Luckily, she took my logic quite well. I suppose I am, aren't I? There are too many people here. Oh, for Pete's sake, Angela. You can stand outside while she eats then. Angela's chair scraped violently against the stone floor. I couldn't help but wince. She can stay. Have a good night, everyone. A touch dramatic, Sister Angela. Hedwig? Yes, Sister Angela? Nothing. Not now. I won't spoil your evening. With that, she swept herself out of the room. All eyes turned to Darcy, who was blissfully munching on a small piece of meat hanging off a bone. Oh, I couldn't possibly stay, sorry. Busy tonight. She finished her snack and then licked her fingers. Enjoy. Have a good night, Darcy. Indeed. Darcy excused herself from the room. Margaret followed behind her to latch the door shut again, and then turned around to face the rest of the sisters. Well. Should one of us flag Eustace down, perhaps? She's also busy tonight. Hedwig and I stopped in on her on her way here. Moira? Marta? Marta's probably asleep by now. Well, it's one of those two. Or the soup. Could you imagine? Where is Moira at the moment? I believe she's usually in the library or reading in her dorm at this hour. She'll be in her dorm then. Eustace seemed in no mood for visitors. Flora, would you be a dear? I just started eating. I'm only asking you to go down the hall. The food will still be here when you get back. Will it? I've seen you lot eat before. Now. Cheeky little... I'm going. This was certainly not as relaxing as I'd been led to believe. That being said, I was still feeling surprisingly confident. I think perhaps I was even finding some relief in the fact that this particular spat had unfolded without me at the centre of it. In fact, I was barely involved in the kerfuffle at all. Charity forced a smile. Well, best not let things get cold. There was a murmur of approval from the others. We all moved our chairs slightly closer to the overflowing platter of sugared meat. I do not understand why Angela is so cruel. I'm positive she's gotten worse as well. She's always been an insufferable coxcomb. Must we drag it all out? She's left. No use quarrelling with someone who's not even here. To be fair, Charity, Hedwig is here because Angela overheard you two grousing about her. Yes, well, that's different. It's not fair you get to have all the fun. Well, I was under the impression that Angela wanted to come tonight to apologise to Hedwig for her behaviour. Ha! That does seem a bit far-fetched. No, it's true. I apologised to her for my outburst and she agreed to apologise to Hedwig for her roughness. Is that true, Sister Charity? This did stretch credulity, but I was curious. Angela's barbed words had wrapped around me so tightly even the slightest bit of slack was a relief. Of course. On the condition that you also apologised, I think. A fresh start for all of us. I have nothing to apologise to that woman for. Well, not a thing. Well, if she wants an apology, I'm obliged to hear what she has to say and do my best to make amends. Catherine's upper lip curled harder than I'd ever seen it curve before. She will hang whatever complaint she has over your head for the rest of your life, apology or no. Believe me, I've been there. Really? Oh yes. I've done that song and dance for her. She just enjoys watching people squirm. How cruel. She wasn't always like this. I do not care. It is true though. It's a shame. What happened? If I knew, things might look a little different. It has certainly gotten worse since Catherine too passed on. That's true for all of us. And she got along with Angela worse than I do. This was difficult to imagine, but it was very interesting indeed. Why is that? It's actually a bit funny. I remember them getting along very well, to be honest. They were friendly at one point, but I mostly remember them clashing. So, Hedwig, I mentioned to you before that Catherine too loved foisting projects and hobbies on us. I remember. Well, for a while it was... Should we say this? For a while it was bawdy literature. Bawdy what? Fableau, as it were? You mean love poems? Romantic writing? No, well, perhaps. Have you really never read any? I'm afraid I have nothing quite so ribald in my cell. They can certainly be romantic, although I think they're more concerned with the fruits of romance. A particular part of romance. The intercourse. The fucking. I nearly choked on the bit of lamb I was eating. You were all reading that sort of thing here? Oh dear. Her wheels are coming off. It's really quite common for monks to write this sort of thing. It helps ease tensions, I suppose. And Catherine too thought, why not us? It might be a healthy exercise. For what purpose? For the fun of it. Purely for the thrill. God knows we're not allowed to have any fun here. That's not true. Not that kind. Hedwig, dearie, it's really not that strange. After a few more weeks, you'll probably realise just how little there is to do. It was something new and entertaining the girls were interested in. Like, well, I understand, but... Yeah, okay. Yes, we've studied a bit of the Bible here and there, actually. Sorry, just don't see how writing that sort of thing is appropriate for women of our station. The sisters all looked at each other with slightly concerned expressions. The confidence I had brought into the room with me was rapidly draining. I felt like I'd accidentally cast myself as an outsider to be scorned once again. Yeah, we're about to be Steve Carell in the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Well, we endeavoured to keep most of it in here. It is the Misericorde, after all. We're eating red meat. The rules of St. Benedict might wane in here, but it sounds more like pure biblical intrusion being broken. Hedwig, the gentlest and most pious monk I'd ever had the pleasure of working with, years and years ago now, used to write beer recipes in the margins of his Bibles, and I remember meeting him for the first time delivering food to a village that had come down with the plague. He told the most outrageous jokes I'd ever heard in my life, and I could hardly walk from laughing. All while risking ourselves to help the diseased and dying. Did we deserve hell for a few bawdy japes? Well, this is not an argument worth having. It depends on the jokes, I would think. Everyone else laughed. I was stunned by Catherine's ability to say the exact words I wanted to say with the exact opposite meaning. Tell us one. Yes, go on. Well, alright. As long as Hedwig is quite alright with it. I smiled meaninglessly. I felt like a bear showing off my teeth. Please don't hold back on my account. A trial by fire for dear Hedwig. Very well, here it is. He told me about a nun he'd worked with before who'd been a midwife, much like myself. Before she joined her convent, she had been assisting her lady with a particularly tough birth. The poor thing just couldn't get out. The midwife took a look between the lady's legs and the lady said, oh, what if it comes out the other hole? I forgot which road my husband took. The others erupted in raucous laughter. Catherine was practically doubled over. I don't get it. Think about it. What do roads have to do with it? Babes typically come out of the, you know. Yes, that much I know, thank you. I actually wasn't sure you would, so that's a relief. Is that in the Bible? I'm capable of a fair amount of deduction of my own. I may have spent a long time on myself, but I'm not a complete fool. That's fair. So you know the rough outline of how it all works? Yes. Well, there you go then. All the pieces are within your grasp. Oh no. She got there. How does that... Why... Does that work? No, that's the joke. So the joke is her husband was quite stupid and, well, or... That's very possible, but that's not the thrust of it, no. Think harder, Sister Hedwig. I was rescued by the sound of the door swinging open. Found her. Hello, everyone. You lot ate all that while I was gone? There was still plenty of food. What took you so long? Couldn't find her. Sorry for giving you the runaround. I ran into Darcy and was chatting with her, and then I went for a walk in the garden. Could Angela not make it? She got her fill of the attention she wanted. Let's not get back into it. No, I could talk about it all night. That's the problem. Fair enough. Well, now that we're back up to fighting strength, what do we do? Should we play a game? I'd love to play some chess. Later, I'm not feeling particularly strategic yet. She reached for the wineskin and poured herself a generous refill. I'll get there, I'm sure. Yeah, man, alcohol always makes you better at stuff. Or at least it makes you think you're better at stuff. Well, since Angela isn't here to complain about them any longer, how about some ghost stories? You'll like that, Hedwig. Right. While navigating through my personal doldrums for the past few days, I'd completely forgotten what my reputation among the sisters currently was. Not only was I a mousy, prudish, trembling little creature, an estimation I could at least agree with, I'd stumbled into giving off the impression of a spirit-chasing prankster. It did not suit me. Oh, well, I don't know. They give me the shivers. That's the point. Precisely. I'll tell you all my story. Oh, must we talk about this? I was hoping we'd go all night we could talk about something a little more fun. Oh, but this is fun. Oh dear. It was just this summer that I decided to take in some fresh air atop the Abbey wall. I wandered through halls I was not familiar with, trying to find the stairs. All alone in a mysterious portion of this abbey, I found the door that I was looking for. When I saw the tail end of another's robe in front of me, I pursued the unknown figure, but when I emerged into the light of the day, there was not a soul to be seen. Huh? Fascinating. And this is in broad daylight. Maybe the sun blinded you. Does seem a touch flimsy. I know what I saw. At first a person was there and then that person was not there. That's a terrible ghost story. Oh, is it? Then perhaps you would like to share a better one. Sure, I've got one. I saw someone outside the Superior's window late at night. That's all, I guess. There was no one else in the room. Just a creepy figure in the bushes. Does that really count as a story? It absolutely does not. No panache whatsoever. I forgot to mention they had horns and really scary glowing eyes. Looks like a minotaur. Oh no, that's a little scarier. Maybe build a little suspense first though. Whatever. I think adding those details make the story more unbelievable. Why were you in the Superior's office at night, Flora? Yeah, speaking of unbelievable details, that door locks tight. And how would you know that? Look, she took my charcoal away because I was scribbling with her during service, okay? Enough. Let me weave you all a tale of true terror. Look out, everyone. She's going to tell us how old she really is. Flora, be nice. Some of us were saving that exact joke for whenever Charity spoke up next. Now, I'm not too proud to be honest about my age. I'm 65 and quite happy with my station. Of course. Well, I can always wait until Marta tries to tell a ghost story. We have a rough estimate for her at least. Marta was probably there when the white ship sank. Everyone else guffawed. I might have joined in, but to be nakedly truthful. But now, my tale. I was approaching these very doors late one night. I'd been for a nighttime stroll and the torches had just been lit. The wind was such that they kept flickering. It was difficult to see and strange shadows danced across the floor. Suddenly, I realized that one of the shadows in front of me was no shadow at all. And not only that, I swear to you that when I bravely took one step forward, I saw the face of Death himself. Well, have I sufficiently rattled you all? Eep. Not bad. Masterful, Sister Catherine. I cannot pretend otherwise. When was this, Catherine? Oh, I don't know the exact date. A month, perhaps 2 months ago? That might have been me. What? Impossible. I do seem to remember running into you in the hall one night when the torches were flickering in the wood like that. If that's true, why didn't you say hello? I tried, but you'd already run away. Oh, fancy that. That's not... No, I think this is probably a different night. Wow. That's the most believable one yet. Aside from mine. You've been a bit quiet, Hedwig. Do you have a good one to share? Me? Oh, no, well... I've just been so captivated by all yours so far. Hedwig's ghost story is one I won't soon forget, though. She conjures up quite an image. An excellent skill for a chronicler. Too right. It's nothing, really. I hope none of them read any of my actual decidedly sparse writing yet. Well, if Hedwig's passing... Margaret? Hedwig's heard mine. I was helping clean up the kitchen one evening. Darcy'd finished up, but there was a pot that I wanted to give another good scouring before putting it away. So there I was, all alone in the workshop, when I heard a strange sound. The light had started to fade, and I hadn't thought to bring a candle. The fading light of dusk through the window was all I had. I crept toward where I thought I'd heard the sound, and saw a pair of eyes. Not only that, there was another creature present as well. One with a terrible visage. All I could make out was a hideous maw and some truly evil eyes. I hightailed it out of there, I have to confess. Goodness, that is an upsetting story. In the kitchen? Crumbs. I frowned. Margaret had told a variation of the story in the chapel. It seemed to be gathering some embellishments for this larger audience. What do you think you saw? Well, if I had to hazard a guess, perhaps two demons having a meeting of some sort. A meeting? What about? I don't know. Perhaps they're arguing about who to eat first. No. How gruesome. Now you're having it on. Maybe. But I did see them. That much is true. The one with the big horrible teeth. That could have been a bar guest. A what? The big dog. That's the one, although dog isn't quite an apt description. It's a truly terrible creature that haunts old fields and old moors, always stalking around and hunting people who wander late at night. It's not quite a hound, more of a, I don't rightly know, a mix of a dog and a goblin, perhaps? Like something out of Inferno. I can only hope you didn't get a good look at him, Margaret. And why's that? Well, they say if you see him, you're destined to die. Well, I'm not worried. No, why's that? Because I made it all up, you daft old bat. My eyebrows had shot straight up, but Charity didn't seem to mind. The whole room erupted with cackling. Oh, the Chica new lot. That counts as your ghost story, I take it? Of course it does. It was very effective. My goodness. I suppose that means it's Moira's turn. But with that, it's time for us to wrap this episode up here, because we're out of time for today. The next episode's going to be all Misericorde room as well, party room, because I know she hasn't talked to Catherine yet, and she won't have talked to Catherine by the end of the next episode either, because we're just going to be hanging, and Hedwig doesn't seem like a woman of action, to be fair. But she'll get there, I'm sure. Maybe. Anyway, thanks so much for Bruce, and I'll see you in the next one.